Welcome back to Discovery Club, my friends. I am super excited to be able to see you 2 times a week again. You are the most special part of my week. But before we dive into our story today, do you know what we need to do? Sing to God. Great job. Now let's stand up so we can dance and sing to God. Wow, that was so much fun singing with you. Thanks for joining me. Today, we get to go on an adventure. But do you know what type of adventure? A Bible adventure. So what do you think we'll need for a Bible adventure? Oh, you're so right. Our Bibles. Do you know what I love about the Bible? I love that God gave it to us so we can learn about Him. We also never have to question if what it says is true or not, because God never lies. With that in mind, let's jump into our story in the Old Testament in the book of Exodus in chapter 6. Do you see the big 6 there? Perfect. Alrighty, for the next 12 weeks, we will be talking about God's very awesome promises and how God always keeps them. But do you know what a promise is? A promise is when you say that you're going to do something and you do it. You break a promise when you say you're going to do it and then you don't. Today, I brought one of my favorite toys with me. And if I'm saying I'm going to let you play with it after our story, that would be a promise. But I would break the promise if I didn't let you play with it. Sometimes we break promises, but God never does. So let's look in our Bible to see what one of His promises was. In this story of the big God story, God's people, the Israelites, were working for the Egyptians against their will. God's people were very upset about their situation, and God knew that they were unhappy. So He talked to His friend Moses, because Moses was the person God wanted to use to get the Israelites away from the Egyptians. In the verses 6 through 8, we learn that what God's promise was. So let's read it together, okay? It says, "Therefore, tell the Israelites, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from the forced work of the Egyptians and rescue you from slavery to them. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and great acts of judgment. I will take you as my people, and I will be your God. You will know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from the forced labor of the Egyptians. I will bring you to the land that I promised to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord. So God's promise was to rescue the Israelites from the Egyptians. He also promised to be their God and to take them to the promised land that he promised to give their grandparents. But when God finally made a way for them to get out, he did not lead them through a shortcut because God thought if they faced war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. Instead, God had a bigger plan for them. He took them the long way by the Red Sea. Then, when they were close to the Red Sea, the Egyptians were following them, and they started getting closer and closer. So God had Moses stretch out his hand over the Red Sea. Then that night, God sent a really strong wind that blew and blew and blew the water until the water became strong walls with a dry path to walk on, because nothing is too hard for God to do. Then the Israelites walked across the Red Sea on dry land. The Egyptians saw what God had done, and they tried to use the dry path too. But once all of the Israelites made it to the other side, God told Moses to stretch his hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians in their chariots and horsemen. In our story today, we saw that God kept his promise of rescuing them from the Egyptians. God kept his promise of being their God. And if we were to keep reading, we would see that God kept his promise of getting them to the promised land. And remember, we never have to worry about God breaking his promises because God never lies, and he always does what he promises. Alrighty, my friends, I hope you had good listening ears on today because I have 3 questions for you. My first question is, what is a promise? Do you remember? A promise is when you say that you're going to do something and you do it. My second question is, what was one of God's promises? Do you remember? There were 3. Nice job. One of them was he would rescue them from the Egyptians. The second one was to be their God. And a third promise that God made was to take them to the promised land. My last question is, does God ever break his promises? No, never. And if you want to tell these truths to maybe your friends or your mom, dad, brother, or sister, we have some things for you. So we have a coloring page, and it says, Moses leads the people out of Egypt, just like God told him to do. And then we also have a fun craft for you. So this is the Red Sea and how it came up on each side, and they had a dry path to walk across. Do you see them? All right, my friends, I had tons of fun getting back with you for midweek, and I can't wait to see you again. Today, I want to teach you a memory verse, okay? So I'm going to do it first, and then you can do it with me a second time, okay? So the verse is Psalm 145, 13b, and it says, the Lord always keeps his promises. He is gracious in all he does. And that was Psalm 145, 13b. Did you get that? Can you do it with me? Ready? Psalm 145, 13b. The Lord always keeps his promises. He is gracious in all he does. All right, my friends, I want you to learn that this week, and we'll do it for an entire month. And I want you to not only learn it, but to submit a video of you doing it as well, right here. Alrighty, and when you submit your video, you put it in for an opportunity to get a prize. And so we'll tell you what that prize is when that time comes, but it's going to be great, I promise. Well, I hope you have fun learning that, and you can watch it again and again to help you. Alrighty, good luck. Bye-bye.